You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
I'm here with Scott. Scott, can you pronounce your last name for me? Because it is a little difficult.
Yeah, it's Glorioso.
That is an epic last name, basically a pop star last name.
Thanks.
Now, the best part about this podcast is it's mobile. So I basically come to you. Where are we at right now? Because we're in this room that is basically a giant puzzle. I mean, there's pictures of what looks like a Queen Elizabeth and I don't even know, Sir Lancelot on the wall that are tilted sideways. We're in this kind of dim lighted with candles on the walls. Creepy vibe.
Yeah, this room is part of the Dracula's Library experience at Captive Escape Rooms in Ocean City. This is like my quote unquote my day job. I'm the manager of this location, and I just thought, when you said this was mobile, I thought this would be an interesting room for us to kind of set up.
For
and
sure, man.
We got these two big wingback chairs and this little table, and it just I don't know, it just feels like a good room for an interview.
It feels like I'm in an American Horror Story.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It might reach for some pretty good questions on this. So what I want to talk to you about is, what do you do professionally besides running the capture room?
I do a number of different things. I guess my main side gig, outside of running this place, is I'm a musician. I've been a musician for a number of years, and it's been a big passion of mine. I've been really fortunate to be able to figure out a way to make a supplemental income out of it.
That's
something
the
you're
dream,
passionate
basically.
about. Yeah.
Now you play drums in a Ramones tribute band.
Yeah, well, that particular project is kind of like on a little bit of a hiatus right now. We've it's not a dead project, but me and Casey Briggs, founding members of that band, we're into other things. Our working band, Three on the Tree, is still a thing. We've got a lot of irons in the fire. We're doing a duo that we call Morning Glass. We've got a really interesting little project that's coming together with some other players like Taylor Knox and DJ Adam Dutch Durham. There's like a dance project that's in the works, and
So you don't just focus on punk rock or anything like that. You have a expansive music selection, basically.
Yeah, you have to, because it's you don't really have to. I mean, I guess that's an extreme thing to say. You have to, but we're in this particular market, in this particular community.
You got to be open to suggestion.
You got to be open to suggestion, and the people that do the majority of the suggestion that matters are the patrons that go to the venues where we perform.
Yeah.
I've always had a heart and a passion for writing music, writing my own songs and things like that, having original bands, and I love that. Whenever I'm involved in a project like that, I think that's when I'm having like my most fulfilling experience musically. But other markets, big city markets, New York, LA, things like that, it's easy. You can be an original band and have a lot of success because people are willing to pay to do that. And here, the majority of the crowds that we have are cover-oriented crowds.
Yeah, because people want to hear something that can either dance to,
right,
or that they know.
Right.
Like, if you're going there playing original music, you got to kind of throw your original music in after a couple cover songs just so people can like you first. You have to
right,
open up to them. And then once they're open back to you, you can throw in an original. And they're like, okay, maybe I like that. Maybe I'll give that a listen to. Maybe I'll buy a CD or buy a shirt.
Exactly.
And that leads to them eventually following you.
And that's essentially, the path that the Phantom Limbs took. Man, they do some covers, but primarily they're an original band, and they've made their own CDs and sold their own merch, T-shirts and stuff like that. They developed a following in a certain sect of our local culture, and they've survived. They found a way to do it, fortunately, in this community, in this environment, that I think they're going on like 8 years or whatever, somewhere near a decade of being an original band that's still a thing. And they found a way to do it, and the Hooplas also found a way to do it. But eventually you get to a certain point where you want to do more than what this community has to offer, and you do what the Hooplas are doing now, which is relocating to a bigger market.
Well, I mean, Ocean City is a great market in general, just what type of people we have that come down here, mostly because this is like a seasonal town, so wintertime, like how it is now, it's really kind of dead.
Right.
But when it comes to summertime, we have bars on practically every block.
You can't get away from a bar.
Yeah, you have clubs. I mean, there's all this place where your stuff can get played on the radio basically anywhere. That's a big influence. I mean, one of our main attractions being the boardwalk, a giant stretch of like 30-something streets with nothing but boards where it's right on the ocean. There's crazy people doing talents, spray painting, all these different types of just abilities. Playing music is a main thing on there. People have their guitar cases open like you would see on the streets of New York somewhere.
Yeah,
where you've
been. I've done that, yeah.
And, it's just to get their voice out there, and then like I said, eventually someone buys a CD. Where did your musical whole entire influence come from? Is that a childhood thing? Because what you just said about being able to write your own songs and that you enjoy that process, that was the hardest thing for me, was when I was with my brother and we'd be trying to write a song, I couldn't think of shit to say. Right. Everything I was saying is like, it sounded like an Eminem mixed with like a Weird Al Yankovic type vibe, where you're like throwing in my toothbrush matches, and then it would be something stupid. But like it would come so easy for him. So it came easy for you?
At times. I mean, with the writing process, I mean, there are times when it's just like, I feel like when I sit down and I'm in that mood to write a song, I feel more like I'm some sort of conduit of some kind that's just harnessing a song that already exists in the energy, in the universe, and it just comes through me, and it's a easy process, it's a fast process, it's a painless process, and before I know it, I have a song that I'm like, this is cool, this is done, and I'm happy with this, I like this. Then there are times, when I feel like I have to force it, and I'm in the same boat that you're talking about being in, where it's just like, no matter what you do, you can't make yourself create a thing that you like. You can't force yourself to create a thing that you think someone else is going to appreciate. You can't see anything objectively or optimistically from any point. Everything you play sucks. Every lyric you write sucks, and it gets frustrating. You know what I mean? Because you want every experience to be like the experience when it's easy, when it just comes through naturally. Yeah. But there are times when you can't get it out.
Well, I mean, how easy would it be if you could just sit down and be like, I'm going to write a song like Dream On?
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's not going to come that quick. That's either everything in the world, the stars align, whatever, has to connect for that. It's just spark to hit you. Like, some beats can create by you're in the kitchen and a certain pot and pan falls a certain way. And if you play drums, you might hear that. And you might be like, that gives me an idea. And then you go into the garage, you start hitting the drums and you start messing around. Next thing you know, an hour later, you got this sick beat.
Right.
Like, stuff like that happens. I mean, I've been driving down the road through Salisbury and looking at cornfields and all these trees and just seeing like it's around wintertime, autumn, like just the colors and those vibrant colors, not only inspiring just like beauty in my mind of how the world works, but then lyrics start coming to my head. Sure. I start thinking about certain places that have these different geographical aspects to it, more like how our ocean is right here. Like we can walk there, see the sand and the beach, or we can take 10-minute walk and go to Ocean Pines or something where there's nothing but trees. And then you get a whole nother set, like just those images that can flow into your mind make me really understand why people even world travel in the first place.
Yeah, your environment, plays such a big role in your influence. It really does. You hear people, that tell stories at times, that they went to a certain place to go write a record. They recorded, they went to this place and they rented this house in the mountains or this cabin or something like that. Dave Grohl was doing an interview once and he was talking about, after the Foo Fighters had their first initial success and everything, they recorded their first record out west or whatever. they came back and they got a little house in the woods in Virginia, and they just however long it took them to make this record, 6 months, whatever it was, they just lived in this house in the hills amid the trees, and a great record was born out of it. And he attributes a lot of the comfort that came from with writing that particular record from being in the environment that they were in. You know what I mean? So it definitely plays a role.
Just like in 8 Mile, where Eminem's sitting on the bus with headphones on, he's writing rap lyrics, and it's based on his life and everything, and he's just staring at the streets and seeing all the different... That created that whole drift or emotional sense that he has in his songs, with just the rough aspect of it. You're listening to an Eminem song, a lot of his songs are like, they pump you up. They're not something to bring you back down. But and then you listen to a reggae band or somebody that's from out in like California, where everything's more of a chill, slowed down, or a Hawaiian type vibe, and then you listen to that, and then it kind of puts you in like a different mood. That is a beauty of music, first of all. Just the amount of how you can put emotion into words, a creative thing, and then that can affect somebody else, that you can project that onto somebody and make their whole emotions and personality change in that. Like, we've all experienced driving down the road with our windows down, blaring our music like no one gives a shit. Like, you're the only person in the world. We've all experienced that, and it's the best feeling in the world.
It's great.
Some of the moments where I had to stop and just in my car and just start singing just a lyric to a song, because it's got me that emotionally moved, just to start going along with the lyrics and feeling what this guy was probably feeling the time he was writing this stuff. That is an amazing thing. And as a musician, I bet you can understand that, just with the beauty that, like, a lot of people talk shit on the world and talk shit on music, and really anybody talks shit on anything about, in general, about, oh, that's easy to write a song. Maybe for you, but it's not easy for everyone. There's people that sit there and they put all their time and effort into it, and they can't get a decent lyric out. And then there could be the one guy that writes down something that just clicks to him in that moment, and it's a hit. But that could be their one hit.
Right. It's been interesting to do it, to be a creative in that aspect, and kind of ride these waves of
ups and downs, ease and difficulty with the craft, and I don't really put it out there. Like, even when I get it done, I mean, there's like a vault, we'll call it. There's a vault of recordings of songs that I've written that most people have never heard. Played a couple on 98.1. I did a few radio shows, Live Licks at 6 or the Sand Jam or whatever, and I put some songs in a couple contests and stuff like that, and I've had some success. But for the most part, I've never really sat down and been like, okay, I'm actually going to package this collection of songs, re-record them like to professional mastering standards and stuff like that, and actually try to put out a record. That's always a thing that could happen down the road, but right now, writing is just something that I do. It's like a therapy for me, that I just do. Yeah, you're not really worried. I do it mainly for me. You're not really worried about getting it out there. That's the same thing where they just found recently with Michael Jackson. He had a journal or something that his family came out with, of all his like secret like songs that he kept for himself, just thoughts and stuff that came to his head that he would write down in his giant journal, never released it. And people are like, I'll buy it for $1 million. Like, that's something, basically what you're saying to do. Imagine, Scott, you're going to get famous, and then next thing you know, you got this hidden journal of all your thoughts and all your like feelings that someone out there, super fan, is going to want to read. Like, I need to buy that book. I will give you everything I own, this shirt off my back for it. And what's interesting about that is that, Michael's never going to come back and record those songs. We're never going to hear what those songs sound like recorded with Michael's voice. So you never know how they play. You never know how they would sound, right? But so I think with somebody saying, I'll pay you $1 million for that journal, is more about, I'll pay you $1 million for a look into his mind at that time. Basically his soul. Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's
anybody that's an artist of any kind is putting themselves out there. I mean, a poet, an author, an artist, somebody who paints visually, graphic, anybody that's creative like that has like an interesting thought process by default.
See, that leads me into what I was going to ask you about photography. Now, when it comes to photography, the way I like to think of it is we all see the world different.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't matter if you're wearing glasses or you're not wearing glasses. It's the fact of we're all seeing this world in different perspectives and different realities that have shaped us from our childhood experiences.
Sure.
Now, you are an avid photographer. Like I've seen your photos and they're really good.
Thanks, man.
And see, the way you see a photo is going to be 100% different from what I'm going to see a photo. Now, the way you capture it and you put it up so I can see how you see it is amazing. But the fact, like, I might be right next to you seeing the exact same thing in a completely 100% different way, might be getting a whole different, you could be having a spiritual moment. I don't know that. I'm sitting there cracking a fart joke. You're not even paying attention to me because you're like just sitting there just in awe.
Absorbed with something, right?
And that's why people go and take these giant trips too, to go just experience another part of the world, like climb the top of Mount Everest and just take photos. Have you ever seen a photo on top of a mountain?
Yeah, it's gnarly up there. It's crazy.
It's like, I understand why that guy spent all that time and 4 people died just to get up there.
Right.
Because of that moment, you're realizing life is insane.
Yeah.
We're practically, I mean, the way you got to think about it, we're on a giant rock floating through space at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and we're all in this world together. So whether you want to be nice or be an asshole to somebody beside you is one thing, but the fact that we're all looking at this world different, we all think differently, we've all been shaped differently. Your passion for music, like I wanted to get into, was that a childhood thing?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you a funny story. When I was a baby, my mom, I didn't get this story until later on in life, obviously, but people would come over to visit my mom. They would, her friends and whatnot, other family members. And when they would come by, they thought something was wrong with me. And they were like, they thought something was wrong with my mom. They thought my mom was screwing up because she had me in this, like a bassinet or whatever. And it was in the living room, and like we had these big tower speakers. And the bassinet was right in front of the speakers. And every time somebody came over, I was in the bassinet, sound asleep in front of the speakers, and they would say to my mom, is that okay for him to be like right in front of the speaker like that with the music playing? And my mom was like, that's when he gets quiet.
Right by the music.
That's when he gets peaceful. He's probably not even asleep. And they would come over and look at me, and I wouldn't even be sleeping. I would just be content and still, but awake and alert while the music was playing. And then they would like experiment with it and toy with me and see what would happen when they'd turn the music off, and I'd start wailing, I'd start screaming, and then they'd turn the music back on, and I would shut up, I would get cool again. From birth, there's always something that's been, comforting to me about music. And you get a little further into it, as I started to get into school, when we moved down here, when I started kindergarten, first grade, and like always, like when my mom would wake me up in the morning after she could eventually get me out of bed, I'm a heavy sleeper, and there was always Motown. She loved Motown. My mom, to this day, she still loves Motown. And there was a local AM radio station that she would have playing, and I would come out of my room and I would come sit at the breakfast table and sit down, and there was the Four Tops and the Temptations and all that old school black music, and it was great, and I was raised to love it, and to this day when I hear that stuff, I can still sing along to it, note for note, word for word, and people look at me and they're like, how do you know this music? And I'm like, I cut my teeth on this music, I was raised on this music. And it just, that kind of like started, like once I got a little older and I started to kind of get out of the house and I started skating, I went to the bowl at 3rd Street, to skate for the first time, and there was speakers, there was this band, this music that I'd never heard before, this this punk music from this band called the Dead Kennedys, and it was like the first time I had heard it, and it was crazy. You know, this the point of it, the drive of it, the feel of it, and that was a visceral experience. I was like, now I know what this punk music is, and I like it because it's different. And then not long after that, a friend of mine was playing this other weird music that was strange to me, and I said, who is this? And he's like, oh, this is Bob Marley and the Wailers. There was born an instant love for reggae, and you know, all the things that I've picked up along the way. You know, when I was in high school, I took music appreciation, and I thought it was going to be more of a pop culture class or something like that, but it ended up being a class. It was all classical the entire year. And when I realized it was going to be all classical, I was like, I wanted to get out of it. I was pissed off that I got
You're
stuck.
scaring me because that's my next semester class.
It could happen. I'm just telling you, it could happen. But if it does happen, just be open to it. Because what ended up happening is, while I was resentful and pissed off for like the first few weeks, eventually there came to a point where I started to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And settle into, there's beautiful things in this music. There's very intelligent things in this music. And when you start to pick it apart and you start to take it for what it is, and you think about, you realize how these guys were composing it. They didn't have, Pro Tools wasn't a thing. These guys had to write this. They had to speak music language.
You know the story of Beethoven, right?
But what he had a hearing.
He was practically deaf, and the way he wrote his music was feeling the vibrations and notes from the keys.
Right.
Like, that's ridiculous. And you hear the dun 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 dun, like that stuff. Like, maybe he was just hitting that because that's all he could hear was those low notes. But to us, we're like, this guy's a genius.
Right.
And that's the crazy thing about writing and just the passions and talents that people have. There are some amazing people out in this world. Don't get me wrong, there are some assholes. But everyone's got a special little ability. And what you're saying about how you were just inspired by listening to the Dead Kennedys and, you know, Motown, growing up on that type of stuff, just hearing it in the morning. I'd never really listened to music that much besides when I was in the car with my grandparents and my brother would be blasting a 311 music. That's practically, we took hour trips back and forth to our grandparents' house, and that's all we'd be playing, 311 over and over again, and then some random song.
It could be worse because 311's good.
They're great, but my brother was basically the radio station for me because you know he was always shotgun. He was older than me, so he sat there controlling the whole radio. My grandparents showed him 311, and then he just got hooked on it, wanted to go on cruises and everything like that. But I never really truly got into music. I just knew my whole family was into it. You know, both my parents played instruments. My dad, you know, was a DJ. My mom was a DJ.
Yeah.
You know, the music was all around me, but I was never captivated by it like I see it now.
While you're bringing up your dad, I just want to plug out to him real quick. He's the reason when I started performing as a soloist. Like when I first got started, I was playing drums in bands exclusively around here. That's all I was doing. And at a certain point, everybody that I had been playing with got into other projects or whatever, and I didn't have anybody to play drums with. I was living in a townhouse. I couldn't really practice because I didn't want to be that guy that was living in a townhouse pissing everybody off on either side of him playing the drums. So I got rid of my drums and I bought a guitar just so I could be musical.
Yeah.
You know? And I had some friends teach me some chords, you know what I mean, to kind of get me off the ground with it. One day a buddy came over and he said, hey, you figure out how to play that thing yet or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I could play it some. And he said, play me a song. So I picked it up and I played him a song. I don't remember what the song was, but he was like, you should gig. You should do a solo thing by yourself because it's good. And I was like, nah, I don't know if I could do that. You know, that's not really my thing. I'm behind the drums guy. You know, I'm that guy. I'm not the perform by myself guy. That's not. But I went and I did it a couple times at a few open mics just to see how it would feel, and I ended up enjoying it. And I wanted to get into it. I bought some recording equipment. I recorded my own demo CD. And I put a lot of work into this demo CD to make it sound really good and crispy. And I started shopping it around to all these different venues, and I guess at the time I kind of had it in my head that that's all you have to do is have a good demo CD, little press kit, telling people a little bit about your bio, who you are, and you drop it off, you get it in the hands of the right person, and then the phones will start ringing, and I'll have all these bookings. And I did that, and nothing happened. And I started calling these people back saying, hey, this is Scott Glorioso. Did you get a chance to listen to my CD? Or, and it was just this hassle, this grind of beating on doors that were never getting opened. And I started to get frustrated. I was talking to Skip about it. I'll never forget it. He was like, okay, I'll tell you what I want you to do. And I said, what? What do I got to do? Because he's a guy that knows, He said, I tell you what I'm going to do. And I was like, okay, guru, master, tell me whatever it is, He said, take your demo CDs and your press kits. And I said, yeah. And he said, and stick them in the way back, deep corner of a closet that you don't really go into very often at all, because you're not going to need them. And I said, why? I mean, that's the thing to do. I mean, I spent all this time making it, recording it and perfecting it. He said, whatever, here's what we're going to do. You're going to bury that box of CDs and you're going to show up with me. Because he was doing his DJ thing. And he said, I'm going to show up at this place and I'm going to do my DJ set. And halfway through it, I'm just going to announce to everybody there that I'm introducing you. You're going to come up and you're just going to do your half-hour set, and then you'll be done, and then I'll finish DJing for the rest of the night. And when we leave, they're going to want your number, because no matter how good your CD is, nobody wants to hear what you sound like on a CD. People want to see what you do live, and you're good live. That's your wheelhouse. You're not a recording engineer.
Yeah.
You're not a recording artist. You're a live performer. Let them see what you do. And I was like, are they going to fire you for doing this? I mean, do you have permission, authority to bring me in there?
I doubt my dad cared.
Yeah, no, he didn't care. He was like, whatever, we're just going to do it. So we did it. And that was the beginning for me, because every place that we went in Maryland and Delaware together for like a couple months, we sat up, we did these shows. Every place that we went, not one of them failed to call me. They all called, like within days, if that. Like most places wouldn't let us out the door without saying, oh, wait, by the way, Scott, let me get your information. I want to call you about some bookings. The ones that did let me get out the door without doing that would call within a few days and say, hey, listen, we appreciate you coming in and doing what you did with Skip the other night. Can we have you back? And that was the difference between me ending up being just another guy with a box full of CDs that nobody wanted to hear, and me having the successful last 10 years that I've had being a performer in this town. I owe it all to him, and I just, when you mentioned him, I thought this would be a cool opportunity. Shout out to him, you know what I mean?
Shout out to my dad, Skip.
Yeah, thanks, man. Love you. Appreciate you.
What's funny is I've had so many people come up to me and say, you're Skip's kid? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh man, I love Skip. He helped me. So I'm like, yeah. I started to realize it's like when I started as a kid, every kid really wants to be like, if you had a dad like mine, you wanted to be like your dad. He's the reason I even picked up drumsticks in the first place.
Right.
Mostly because how you were saying where you said your mom, people thought your mom messed you up sitting you in front of those speakers when you were a baby. When I was in school, I almost got put into I almost got sent to like a mental retardation school, because they sat my parents down and were like, he can't sit still, he's not paying attention, he's being a constant disruption in class. I was put on like behavior books, really bad school problems, only because of the fact I have ADHD and I was never medicated for it. So I'm sitting in class, I'm sitting there, tapping my feet, hitting the desk, cracking jokes, trying to make somebody laugh. That's my whole thing. I love saying something that might be make you smile on the spot and might get me in trouble, like no recess or something. Well, whatever. It was worth the joke. Everybody laughed. At the same time, it was also a thing, like I like saying something where you're like, what? And then like I've had people come up to me like the next day and go, I don't know what it was, but that thing you said earlier in the day, I was driving home and I just started laughing my ass off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm glad I could do that for you.
Right.
I'm glad I could
feels
put
good.
at least crack a smile for that minute of time. Like, I don't want you to see me and be like, hey, you know, there's that guy. You know, he's never really in a good mood. I want you to see me and be like, there's Robbie, man. That guy's out there.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be like that, because
Yeah.
that creates such a sparkful conversation between me and whoever. If I'm just meeting you or if I know a little bit about you. It just creates this wonderful vibe that we can click in. I guess it's better to be nice than be an asshole. But at the same time, my dad, when I saw him going out to DJ gigs every night, in the beginning I was like, my dad plays drums. I saw him in a Rock Bottom tribute band, which is a Kiss tribute band.
Right.
So I'm sitting there like, my dad's dressed up as Peter Criss on stage right now, full cat makeup and everything, playing drums, throwing his sticks in the air. I remember I went to my first concert. He threw a broken drumstick in the air. I ran out into the crowd, grabbed his broken drumstick and all the confetti that was on the floor. I was going around just like picking it up on the stick and spinning around like I was like Harry Potter or something.
Right.
Just because I was like, holy crap. I was just amazing. Like, and nobody could touch me because my dad was on stage.
Right,
It was amazing to see. And then I remember he told me, you know, we were taking a trip over to Taco Bell one time because he just got off of band practice, and you know, it was a nighttime. He was like, you want to get some tacos? I was like, yeah. You know, I was hooked into video games, so I was like, let's do it. He's telling me about this band he used to be in called Flytrap that I found out my uncle is in.
Right.
He sung to. I didn't know that either. So next thing I look at my uncle and I'm like, so you were in this band? He goes, I'm going to let your dad tell you about that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, Dad, can I see you have a journal? And he goes, yeah, I have a journal. And I'm like, can I look at, you know, I'm around 7 or 8 at this time. I'm like, can I look at the journal and see the songs you guys are writing? No. What do you mean, no?
Right.
Wait till you're a little bit older.
Sure.
And I'm like, I didn't understand. I never heard Flytrap. And then I remember I turned 16 and got like my permit and everything. And I was just driving, and for some reason it popped in my head. I was like, hey, Dad, can I listen to Flytrap? I've never heard of a song you guys done before. And he's like, oh, God, I was waiting for this day.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. I started reading his journal, and I'm like, whoa, you thought like this? He goes, yeah, I mean, I used to be your age too, man. Like, everything you probably think about is what I thought about.
Right.
I was like, I don't know, I think it's some weird stuff. He goes, you keep reading that book, you think it's some weird stuff, too.
I'm sure. Because it was crazy times when Flytrap was a thing. I mean, I remember that. And, yeah, you know, I just, and it's been a little bit of a source of disappointment. You know, over the years there have been a couple reunion shows here and there. You know, and I've been so excited about them, but I haven't been able to make it to any of them. And I'd like to think maybe there's another one. You know,
What I was like, just we'd be out somewhere at a restaurant or something, just me and my dad, just getting something like a bite to eat or something, and someone goes, "Man, when are you gonna play in Flytrap again? And like, when are you gonna get that back together?" And I'm like, it was this thing that was a giant secret I never knew about, and I don't know if he kept it a secret for a reason, and I still don't even really know the full aspect of his band, but just the fact that I knew my dad is the Kiss guy.
Right.
That was a giant influence on me. If I was going to listen to music, it was going to be Kiss. You know, I had a Kiss toothbrush that used to play music when you brushed your teeth. And he was like, and the reason why I had that was he saw it in a store and was like, we're getting this. I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying an $8 toothbrush. He's like, no, you're having this. This is what's happening. And he bought me AC/DC shirts, all that type of stuff. And those were, I listen to music a little bit, but my influence on music didn't really hit me because I used to play video games for so long. Fallout New Vegas, all these types of like wastelandic video games that had old songs in them. Frank Sinatra, Fly Me to the Moon, all those types of hits. I was listening to those. And then I started going into thrift stores and picking up old vinyl records.
Oh, nice.
And just,
nice.
Even though I didn't have anything to play them on, it was just cool because I would be like, that song's in my game. You know, I've listened to them, and the Ink Spots, I know them. They're awesome.
Right.
And I would buy those, and then I'd start listening to them on YouTube on my phone through my car. Because the first thing you get when you get your license is an auxiliary cable, so you can listen to your phone in the car. That's everything, unless you had a thing of CDs, and then that's what you do. But I remember playing that. My grandma was like, how do you know this song? Like, this is stuff my husband listened to. You listen to Johnny Cash. Yeah. And then, like, most kids my age are listening to, like Post Malone or Macklemore or some type of like artist that is, I mean, it's still music. And I do want to ask this to you before I get into this huge thing. when you look at music, you see the beauty of it, even if it isn't something you're interested in. It's because when you're telling me that you listen to punk, like, you obviously have your views of what's your favorite type of music and what you prefer to listen to. But the way I see music is, all music is created by someone, and if they're actually taking the time and effort to put their heart and soul actually in a song and make it a hit, just because it might not be my slice of toast, it might be somebody else's.
Right.
And I think that only comes down to the basis of when a song is not super overly produced, where it's just nothing but techno beats. But that might be something where someone listens to, like techno or Skrillex, that might get them interested in. And I think that's fine too, even though it might be for me. But when I hear a rap song, and especially the modern stuff now, I'm not a big fan of it, but all the kids my age that are huge into it and everything, and I click with a lot of older people because of just how my music and raised upness was.
Sure.
Just being more level-headed, down to the ground, and just the type of music I listen to. Compared to kids, I don't really click with any kids my own age.
Right.
They all want to go out partying and drinking because we're at that age, but I'm not a big fan of it. And that's just because I'm more of a nice chill-out kind of like, I can have my party times, but when I listen to music, it's something, and I wish it was a passion that I had that I could chase after, playing an instrument. I mean, I can sit myself down and force myself to do it, but it would never be an enjoyment to me like it is for you.
Right.
And so when you listen to music, you understand its aspects of it. It's someone's emotional and spiritual and kind of thing put into words, so you don't really have a dislike towards any, do you?
It's easy for me to have confidence in my declaration that I like all styles of music, because I do, genuinely. But there are facets of every genre that I think go through like cyclical phases. And there was a time, when I was very heavily influenced by hip hop, and I was into it. I guess I recognize hip hop by a certain personal definition of what that music is. Even the same with R&B, and what they were. And then the more I think about this as I'm talking, I mean, I can even apply it to rock and a lot of different things. I think music, for whatever reason, commercialized music, the music that ends up being what gets exposed at the surface to the masses, I think the quality is in, as things ebb and flow and go through peaks and valleys over the course of history. I think things are in a little bit of a valley right now, because I listen to, and some of the people, a little bit younger than me might say, well, that's just because you're getting old and you suck now. And
there's definitely a money aspect,
what I mean,
in the production of music.
Yeah, and there's money, and there's a market, and an industry, above all things else. I mean, that's the whole thing is an industry. But I hope the industry catches up to itself and starts
appreciating the more original type music instead
right.
of being the stuff that's got to be super produced.
Right.
Because the stuff you hear now, everything that's on the radio it's really overly produced, and it's just because the record company or whoever that owns that song, it's not usually the artist that owns it anymore. Yeah, they sing in it, yeah, they play it, but when they sign a contract and they get tied into these legal loopholes, the type of record companies, there are some out there that are pariah, like Piranha.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That take you down, man. And it feels like as a musician, I know it's probably got to hurt you just to see that a lot of original music and artists that, started out on like a good road, to end up getting just taken over by money and stuff. And it's gotta hurt a little bit, just because you enjoy obviously the creative and ebb and flow of music. You enjoy the passion to hear that, much like I enjoy, I like listening to comedy stuff. Like I like hearing a comedian tell a joke, and that's just because they're not being produced by anything. That's someone else's thoughts. I always thought when I talked, it was an annoying thing. I talk too much. I get onto these things where people are like, all right, shut up. But then I started realizing I actually have a weird connection with words, where I just took a literature class. I got an A in it. I didn't expect that at all, and that was because it was a drama, intro into drama, like studying drama literature and Greek tragedies and all that. I got an A just because I would write these essays where my teacher was like, that made me tear up a little bit. Like, not even joking. She saw the beauty in the words, and I always thought when I was a kid, like, I'm not gonna read a book. I don't care. I remember one day I went to a thrift store, spent 25 cents, picked up a dictionary, started reading words. I mean, every page, and it sunk in. And I remember my 7th grade teacher, big influence there, told me, hey, you know, every time I was in detention, read this. And it just tossed me a Webster's dictionary, read it. I'd sit there, page after page after page after page.
And for fun, be hours just taking in the words.
Yeah, and then eventually I was like, can I just take this home and use this as my reading log stuff? She's like, if you don't want to read an actual book with maybe like a Harry Potter book, something you might want to get interested in. I'm like, I'd rather read this and just read definitions of words.
Expand my vocabulary instead.
That's where my dad did the smartest thing. What you're reading, every word, write down the definition.
Right.
I'm like, that's going to take forever. Well, threw a stack of papers right in front of me and put a pencil down. There you go, man. Here's a pencil sharpener. And it wasn't one of the either hand crank ones. It was one of the ones you had to plug into electric one. But it had the smallest little cartridge, so you keep emptying it out every single time.
To dump out the shavings.
And he goes, trust me, when I wrote songs or did something like this, what I did was I had a journal and a pencil, and I sat there and I focused on it. He goes, now read these words and expand your vocabulary. He didn't say those types of things, because even when I talk to him now, he's like, I don't understand how you can reach for these words like that. Like, I never taught you anything like this. I'm like, you did. You don't remember, but those making me write down the definitions over and over again. It's like when you write your name over and over, it sinks in, and you don't think of it. But I love it, because now when I podcast, or when I'm saying, I can actually sound educated on what I'm talking about. But it's cool, because I can actually have a decent conversation with someone, where there's times I sound like I'm from Boston, like I'll cut my words, like, hey, you know, doing something like that, which not paying attention. That's just because of the constant, my influence on listening to podcasting itself. I listen to nothing but Joe Rogan and all the people he has that are from that area. So eventually it's like you're sitting there, if you live in a certain, like, different place with an accent for so long, your vocal thing changes.
It doesn't take long at all. I spent 4 days in New York City, and it was great. And I stayed up there with a friend of mine, and he was born and raised in New York. He moved here to Ocean City, where we became friends. He lived here for a number of years, and then he moved back up there. And we've seen each other very sparsely over the last few years, and it was time for us to get together and catch up. So I told him I was coming up, and he said, you'll stay with me? And I was like, yeah, cool. And just to hear him talk, he's got such, I mean, you know what you think of in your head when you hear people say that quintessential New York accent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he just oozes that accent, like, with everything he says. Like, not just the accent itself, but also, like, his inflections, in the way he speaks, the words he uses, the phrasing. It's just like, it's English by all means, but it's its own,
it's blunt English.
It's its own blunt dialect, and it was
get
funny
a
because
pastrami on rye.
Yeah, and it was like by the end of, when I first showed up, on day one, I was like walking into the place, and I was like, yeah, can I get a cappuccino with, just trying to order a coffee or whatever. And then I was only there for 4 days, whatever. And by the end of the 4th day, I felt like I could hear myself going to the same person in the same place going, yeah, let me get one of them cappuccinos, huh? Or whatever. And I felt like I was assuming the role of my environment, even after only 4 days of being in it, which is funny to hear how people can adopt that
I used to
fast.
Joke around and do impressions to make people laugh, and I would always do like a different accent, like something like there. I remember there's this Irish guy I used to work with as a jet ski guide, and I never forget. He sounded like if you mixed the Lucky Charms guy with just an older, pale, like white, like, you ever know Sheamus from WWE? He's a giant, like looks like a Celtic guy, like someone you'd be like,
I don't really
that dude's
follow
skin's
the-
pale white. Like
Right.
if he went out in the sun, he'd just turn to ash.
Sure.
Like a vampire, basically.
Yeah.
And he looked like that, but he had the Irish Lucky Charm voice. I remember he was out and he got in a jet ski accident, and all you hear on the radio was, and he would talk so much on the radio, you end up talking like him with an accent. And he goes, I think I broke my fucking foot. And everyone was like, oh my God, and like was like in shock.
Right.
I'm sitting there dying laughing,
Right.
because the way he said fucking foot,
Sure.
it would, the way he comes back, he's limping and goes, yeah, it hurts. I can't really walk on it that much. And I'm like, I'm sitting there just laughing, and I'm trying to talk to him like, look, man, you're fine. It's not broken. And I'm trying to like look at it and talk to him, and I'm making fun of his accent, and I don't know it.
Right.
And he goes, are you making fun of me, lad? I'm like, no. He goes, okay, all right. And he's like messing around with me. I'm like, yeah, but it sucked because his friends would come by, and his friends all were from there, and
Sure.
like they're all from Ireland. You can't stop yourself from doing it.
Right.
It was just, it's the weirdest influence, and like that connects to what you were saying about being in New York for a couple of days. When you get back here and try and order a coffee, you want to make sure I'm not yelling. In your mind, you're saying I'm not yelling, right? Like I'm not yelling. You're sitting there ordering a coffee. You feel like you're screaming at the board.
Exactly.
But that's also where people go, man, you have such a New York attitude because they're impatient or something. The reason why is there's a lot of people living in New York City, and if you come down here,
it's like 8 million
dramatic.
people in there. It's a madhouse.
They're all on top of each other. There's really no point in owning a car. You're not going to get very far. You can walk farther than you can driving down there. It's got to be health hazards too. I mean, just the fact of having all those people in one space, but the fact that the brake dust. All those people that are constantly going, braking, because they can't move that far.
Right, sure.
That goes up in the air. I mean, you're breathing that in practically half the time, and you hear like a lot of them. People come down here, and we have a couple people in my work that are from New York. They smoke cigarettes like crazy,
right.
And I'm like, that's gonna end up killing you. I lived in New York for a little while. This ain't gonna kill me.
Right.
I'm like, okay, and you start to realize,
I breathe brake dust.
yeah,
for
they
12
breathe
years.
brake dust. You know, it's the same guy that works in like a coal mine or something. You know, I got lung cancer.
I got the black lung.
Then why are you still smoking? I smoked that bad stuff back in the day.
Right.
It's cool about also meeting people, and I think that's what's a great thing about just music in general too. You can meet somebody that lives in New York and get a whole different musical aspect on life. You get a whole different change on life. And now to take this kind of segue off from music, even though we'll probably end up hopping right back onto it,
which is fine, you know.
Photography.
Yeah.
Like I said, taking the beauty and seeing a difference in an image. As far as you usually see on Instagram, everyone's a photographer on Instagram. All you got to do is add a certain filter effect and bam. That's still, I mean, nice to see in my mind. I mean, though I have to admit, the one thing that does piss me off is when I see someone taking a picture of a sub that they're eating with no filter on it, just a normal sub.
Right.
Look at, like, you had to stop that minute and honestly take a picture of your food before you ate it. And then you had the sad people are like, I was so hungry I had to stop halfway in and then take a picture. Sorry, guys. And it was like, I can't tell if you're being funny or serious, but it's like, you know, a certain filter effect does change a perspective on a photo, but I never got into getting an actual physical, like $100 worth camera and taking the time to go do that, mostly because I'm very like cautious with my money when it comes to things. So I just would take my phone, and I remember taking a communication arts class, which was video photography, and that's what got me designed into like remaking like scenes from Step Brothers and famous comedy movies. We learned about angle shots and learning about like low dramatic zooms and like just like low angles, high angles, side angles, stuff. I was like, what? And I was like, can't I just, what do you mean? And like, you just hold your phone up, get a high angle of a photo going down. That's a high angle. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I would take it to the beach, and having Ocean City here, just being able to take pictures of the beautiful waters. I mean, each wave is practically different, so
it is.
It's you can bend down real low, get the water just like barely about to hit the phone, and getting the little glimpses of the sand, and then getting that sunlight right on the water. Beautiful. I see that. Someone else just sees you laid on the ground, like, and took a photo. That's what I did, but do you see what I'm seeing?
Right, exactly.
I pulled up into my buddy's house on Christmas Day, and I get out, and he has the fir trees, like the regular Christmas trees.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he has one hanging down. I'll show you this picture when we get done. And I was looking at it. I was like, you know what that reminds me of? Like when you see a snowboarding movie and there's snow on the tree, and there's like a camera's right up against the little part of the tree where you just see the focus on the tree,
right,
and the snow and like little red berries coming off of it. I was like, that looks like that. Took a picture. Perfect. Put it on Instagram. Everyone was like, holy crap, where'd you get that photo? I'm like, it's my buddy's house, literally.
Right, yeah.
It's like I literally just got out of the car, walked up. He was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to take a picture of this tree. He's like, all right, when you're done having a stroke, come inside. I'm like, okay. But being in New York, you had to see some crazy sights that kind of made you stop and take a picture, right?
Yeah, it was, I mean, New York is just, I had been there before twice but the two times that I had been there before, I was in there very briefly. I was kind of in and I was out, and I had objectives and you know, on a mission, in and out of New York on a mission with a short window of time to do things. So I never really had an experience where I could say I went to New York and I just did it on my own terms and I enjoyed it and I really got a chance to take Manhattan in for what it is.
You can't do that in 4 days anyway.
No, you can't do that in 4 days anyway, but I had a hell of a lot better chance doing it this time than I ever had before. You know, up to this point with my photography, I've been, you know, in that entry-level phase where I've gone from not even owning a camera to figuring out how to use a camera to taking irrelevant images that suck to starting to get a little bit of attention and starting to care about wanting to make better images. And as this thing has been evolving and progressing, you know, I've progressed, I've grown, and I'm at a point now where in 2019, I think I'm gonna try to like legitimize what I'm doing here for a hobby, for, you know, as an enthusiast, and take it into a business, because there have been people over the course of the year that have asked me to do some portrait shoots, which portraits is a pretty big responsibility. I mean, this is somebody saying, I'm willing to offer you money that I have worked to earn for you to capture my likeness in a way that I find flattering. And there is value in that, and I'm willing to provide you that value. It's a responsibility, you know, that I think needs to be respected. And I did these shoots, and I was kind of nervous about it. You know what I mean? Because it's, you know, you want to meet somebody's expectations. You don't want to let somebody down, and especially when you know how much there is to know about portraiture and lighting, and you know how little you know in comparison to how much there is to know. It makes you nervous. But I had good results. And I'm still learning. I'm still continuing to study. Photography it's like anything else. It's not a destination. It's a journey. It's a continual.
You're learning every single day.
Every day.
It's a lot like a trade job, where there's constantly new things being put out there, new stuff you can learn. You're never going to stop learning. You're never going to be a master. I don't think anybody can be a master at photography, just like nobody's a master at music or at a certain type of talent.
Right.
There's always something new. There's always some improvement. There's always room for improvement. And it's having that mindset that levels the playing field for everything. It's what keeps you off the high pedestal thinking you're better than somebody else.
Right.
When you think you're at the same level of someone that just started photography, even though you might have way better images, way more experience, it doesn't matter, because it's all about how you see an image. And that's important too.
And that's kind of why, like, I went to New York. Like, it's, you know, I respect the photographers around here, many of them, so reverently, that, you know, they've kind of embraced me into the community, you know, and yeah, I've gotten some great compliments on some images and everything, and, you know, they address me as one of their own, and I feel fortunate. But at the same time, you know, some of them are so good and they're turning out such good images that it's like, I feel like, well, it's difficult for me to compete. Because even though it's communal, it's also like a friendly competition, you know what I mean? Like, to see, you know, you're always in competition with yourself, and to one degree or another, you're in competition with your peers, even if you get along as well as we all do. I could concentrate on taking the same images over and over again that everybody else is, and just say my shot of the same thing is better or not as good as your shot of the same thing. Or I can differentiate myself not by having the better image that comes from the better camera that most of these guys have, and girls. But I want to shoot different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of like the idea behind the New York trip. You know, like I did the Philly stuff the month prior. Philly was great. Philly was really good for me. I got really great images. I'm really proud of some of the images that I took in Philadelphia. But the New York thing is just, I'm going to put together a package. Actually, I'm not going to put it together. I'm writing it. I'm directing it. I've got the footage for it. I've taken the stills for it. And a friend of mine is a very savvy editor with Adobe Premiere. He does the video editing thing, and we're going to put this together in a video. We're going to make me a promo video.
Once you get that video, send it to me, and I will put the link in this video's description we can have the people that listen to this and like love it, because it's just so crazy and out there.
I'm hoping to have it done before Christmas, but with everything being as hectic and bottlenecked as it is this time of year.
It's the holidays, man.
It's the holidays. Things happen slow because everybody's so busy. So if not before Christmas, which would have been the ultimate, the goal, is shortly after the first of the year. So, but that's kind of like what the whole deal with that trip was, is I'm trying to turn 2019 into an opportunity to capitalize on a passion. Capitalize on something that the community thinks I'm good at. Even when there have been times when I've been like, I don't know if I'm in the club. I don't know if I'm good enough. People have said no, you're good. You know what I mean? Stay around, don't give it up. And because of that, I'm developing the confidence that I need to say, you don't have to just be an enthusiast. You can do this as a business. You can do this as a job. You can provide this service to people and feel good about what you're doing, because I really feel like I'm at a point now where I can start turning out some attractive work that I can make people happy with for a long time.
I got faith in you, man.
The first day I was there, I was just there by myself, just kind of like wandering aimlessly around Manhattan. My GPS wasn't working right. The phone was on the fritz, and I was just, your first time you're on foot in Manhattan. I got a duffel bag full of 45 pounds of clothes. I got a camera bag that's full of all kind of gear, and my tripod. I got a backpack that's got my laptop and stuff, and it's like, and all of a sudden, you come from being in a town that's as sleepy as this is, especially this time of year, and then you just show up, and then there you are in the middle of the zoo. And it was a little, like, it's a lot to feel right now. It's a vibe, and it took a couple hours to adjust to the vibe and the pace of everything. But then once I settled in and I found a place where I could safely store my bags, and I was able to just get out into the street with I was warm, I had clothes on, plenty of layers and everything. It was freezing up there, and my camera. And once I was able to shake the baggage, and I had settled into the reality that your GPS, your phone's not taking you anywhere. You just have to go. You just have to walk and see what you see. It was like the first time in a long time that I had been in that kind of environment where I didn't have an obligation. I didn't have somewhere that I had to be at X time. I was seeing things for the first time. That for a while I found that I was just walking around with the camera, and I wasn't even taking photos, or video or anything. I was just walking around just awestruck by Manhattan, because it's just incredible.
Well, it's difference from where we're at right now. It's like a small city, but I mean, if you want to call it that, more like a town. But it's like when you go to Vegas and they have the Paris, like the Eiffel Tower, the miniature Eiffel Tower, miniature Statue of Liberty. It's trying to be somewhere else, but if you physically go to that place,
right,
you are completely like, holy crap.
Yeah, and that's so I was kind of like, realized I wasn't taking pictures, and I was like, okay, you got to start firing off some shots.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I had some sort of responsibility to the city
to take these photos,
to take good pictures, because I was like, man, you don't want to fuck up Manhattan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like every picture I was trying, you know, that I took, I tried to take with great care and respect for the city. You know, but when I got back and I started going over the images, we were in such a hurry. Like once I got together with Eddie and we started running around the city, I mean, we literally slept like 4 hours at a time, and the rest of the time we were either in his car, on a passenger train, the Long Island Railroad, subways, cabs, buses, whatever. You know what I mean? It was just like constant motion that didn't stop. So some of the pictures that I came home with, once I sat down to start editing them, you could see this was well composed. This was well conceptualized. This is a thoughtful image, you know. And then there are some that are like, you know, such great expectation at first glance, but then I can see like nothing's in focus, and you know, there's something in the frame or whatever, just something like that. Things you could see that certain photos were just rushed, you know. And that's what it was. I mean, it was basically just like a blitz, run and gun.
That city never sleeps.
Kind of shoot, you know, and shooting in the day, shooting in the dark, shooting in the street, shooting in the subway, and it was awesome. It was. I mean, I'll never forget that trip to New York. You know, no matter how many times I go back, there's always something special about your first time.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So I'll yeah.
Do you ever find it funny when someone looks at you like, "Why are you stopping right now to take a picture?" And be like, "I got to." It's like that. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but there's a couple times I've been driving and I'm like, "Take a picture of that right now for me.
Yeah.
Take a picture of that right now. I will crash this off this bridge and take a picture of that sunset right now."
Right.
My buddy's like, "Dude, it's a sunset. Like it happens every day." No, it doesn't.
You're like, "No, look at the clouds, the drama.
I
look
see
at it.
We're pulling over and go, dude, come on, we got traffic behind us. I don't care. It's like that. Dude, I've always been like that. Just if I was skateboarding down the thing, hop off my skateboard, my buddy goes 5 streets down, turns around and sees I'm not following him. Where did you go? I'm in a back alley somewhere. Like, dude, this wall. Yeah. If you look at it from this angle, the light shining through the alley right here, it gets it perfectly.
And that's what happens. I mean, you develop, you know, you start to develop that eye, and you start to see things from different perspectives, and suddenly everything's a subject. Sure, I'm surrounded by people that would say that, you know, since I've started to get into photography as much as I am, that I've become somewhat of a pain in the ass in that respect. And I'm like, okay, well, look, everybody's got their own thing that makes them a pain in the ass. Your thing that makes you a pain in the ass is you're an asshole, but I love you and I deal with you anyway.
Yeah.
My thing that makes me a pain in the ass is I'm a photographer that has to stop everywhere we go 20 times along the way to take a picture.
It's like a road trip, man.
Just love me and deal with me. You want to take a road trip?
We can take a road trip, dude. I'd get along with you pretty well, man.
We'll have a good time. Where you want to go?
The biggest ball of yarn. I would like to go see that, man.
The biggest ball of yarn?
Dude, you know taking that trip would trip us out.
Where is that?
I don't even know. Probably somewhere in some back country or something. You'd run into a bunch of stuff, man. That's what I wanted to do recently. I wanted to go take a trip. My buddy's talking about buying a Tacoma, getting it all pimped out,
right,
and then taking a trip around every single state. You're freaking nuts.
Yeah,
I told him
that'd be
I'm
awesome,
like,
though.
He's like, dude, we're going to go to Hawaii with the Tacoma. I'm like, you got to cross water. He goes, I will get a cargo ship. He was looking at cargo ships. Now, he makes $20 an hour doing like HVAC and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's been saving his money for so long. He's got 4 vehicles. He only drives 1.
Right.
But he's just like, that's all he puts all his money into his cars. He's like, I will sell all my vehicles and just save up for like the next 10 years and we will take this trip. I'm like, dude, why do you want to do that? He goes, don't you just want to go and experience something? I'm like, I do, and I understand 100% what you're talking about, and I will start saving now too. So that's what we've been doing for like the past 2 years, been saving our money for that.
Nice. That's going to be killer. I might make a suggestion though.
I don't want to travel to all 50 states.
Leave the Tacoma in Cali. Fly to Hawaii, rent a car. That's just my suggestion to your boy. You know, I mean, he's talking about
every time he brings it up, though, he's had something to drink.
I think maybe those beers or whatever are getting to him. You know, he's thinking that putting the Tacoma on a cargo ship is going to be a good decision. I don't know. I think there's a better way. But aside from that facet, I think what you guys are talking about sounds like a dream trip. You know what I mean? And you should go for it for sure. Like it's TikTok. You know what
Scott,
I mean? Like the clock ticks.
Besides seeing the biggest ball of yarn, let's go to Hawaii. Because one thing I want to ask you about is, in New York, did you see any beautiful graffiti? Because a lot of people say graffiti is trash, but I have seen some amazing spray paints and just pictures, and you got to think of the creative stuff that those guys use. But on those walls, that some people were like, I paid for this to get put on the side of my building. Did you witness any of that?
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing about the graffiti. Like, my buddy Eddie is an officer of sorts, you know, so he's very street wise, and you know, a lot of the graffiti has been removed in New York, but there's still a good bit of it. And a lot of what it is just it's territorial gang art.
Yeah.
You know, and for what it represents in a lot of those cases, you know, it's a detriment to see it because of the activity that it represents. But there is also so a couple weeks prior, I took a day trip to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia has beautiful graffiti. Absolutely, somebody said, paint this building. You know, I put a picture on Instagram of this one building that had this bizarre, magical image that I was just like, I when I posted it on Instagram, I think I put the picture up, and then I made a story of it. And in the story, I was like, this exists in Philadelphia, and it was gorgeous. I didn't see a great deal of graffiti in New York that I felt like I had to shoot. It was like the middle of the night, and we were walking across this bridge. The footpath that went across the bridge, like if you looked down as you were walking, there were people that had done graffiti all over the footpath. And like, it was an interesting thing because like as you're walking, like every several feet, you know, you would see some sort of phrase, you know, and whether that phrase would be something that some asshole put there that would be like, go fuck yourself or something, you know, or you would walk another couple feet and then there would be like Gandhi, be the change in the world or whatever, you know what I mean? And just, you know, I kept going and I kept going and I kept going, and I'm talking to Eddie and we're walking across, you know, this huge bridge, and then all of a sudden, like, I look down and there's like, it just says very simply, follow the light. And it was just the like blacktop, you know, asphalt, and it was written in white and like clean, intelligible script, you know, neat with like a little squiggly circle around it, follow the light. And I just stopped and I looked at it and I was like, this, yeah, for whatever reason, follow the light. It just struck me in that moment, and I stopped, and then, you know, Eddie was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm just looking at this follow the light. And he was like, oh my God, come on, we got shit to do. We got places to go. What are you doing? Follow the light? Are you serious with me right now? And I was like, nah, I gotta take a picture of it. And I took a picture of follow the light, you know. I knew that I wanted to shoot some sort of graffiti, some sort of street art or something like that. And I don't know, there's probably something else in the images that I forgot, but the only thing that I can remember is that follow the light. And for whatever reason, it just struck me. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about photography, is anything and everything is a potential subject, and it's all subjective.
You think that guy that wrote "Go fuck yourself" under the imagine if he wrote that under the Gandhi thing, be the change you want to see in the world, and someone's just like, go fuck yourself under it. Imagine somebody writing that out like right in front of the airport, so as soon as you, well, I'm in Philly now, and he looked down and says, go fuck yourself. Well, I'm going back home now.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I mean, that might have been by design. I don't think those things were so close together. I was just using two extreme examles. But yeah, that would be funny. Like, if somebody saw that and was like,
don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, for the be the change. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, right.
But one place I was saying was Hawaii, man. Me and you have to go there because you will be amazed at the graffiti that you see there. They have people that, we just got off the airport, got into our rental car, and started driving down. We stayed at the hotel about 45 minutes from the airport.
Yeah.
And besides seeing, there's a lot of homeless people there. Mm-hmm. I mean, at that point, I think they're basically wanting to be homeless, living in, they're all in one tent community all over this place under this giant long bridge. There's hundreds of them just in tents.
Sure.
And there was this giant building, and the one thing of graffiti that I saw that I really enjoyed, it was not the Kool-Aid Man, but the Hawaiian Punch kid, the little white kid with the red hair.
Oh, yeah.
That cartoon thing.
Yeah.
And you know how he sticks his thumb up and does that whole thing?
Uh-huh.
Well, he had his hands open. One was the world, and it was circled around it was a life preserver.
Right.
It was perfect. I mean, it looked like somebody paid millions of dollars to have that on there, like a professional artist.
Right.
Giant on this building that was the size of the Hilton, like a giant hotel. And it was just on the side of it. And you were coming right over this bridge, and you just saw that. And then in his other hand was a glazed donut. And then it was inside the glazed donut was a portal. And you're like, what does that even mean? But the Hawaiian Punch guy was all baked out of his mind, had a little cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and was just sitting like that. And there was a dude on a giant one of those lifts, like the people use for cleaning windows and stuff. And he was spray painting, touching it up. I'm like, some guy that owns that building paid to have that.
Yeah, it's great. I think that's awesome.
Building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but who's got to live there? There's not an old person living there. I don't want the stone fruit man or fruit punch guy hanging outside painting on the side of my house. Just take a left by, that dog down there, and then you'll see this giant house that has the stone fruit punch guy. Yeah, I live in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's classic.
Stuff like that. I see people's talents with that, and a lot of kids when I was in school everyone would call them weird kids that would draw all the time or be really into art. That kid's not weird. That kid's got something figured out. He's found a passion of his hobby is obviously drawing shit. The farthest, I could draw, but the farthest I enjoyed a good coloring book. I like doing color inside the lines and that type of stuff, but I never found my talent for just doing that, but I admire the beauty now, and I'm so happy I do, because a lot of my friends that I hang out with and I see them walk on the streets and they're totally missing these beautiful images, whether it's a sign that's broken in a certain way. A lot of times when I go and shoot photography, I go by myself. It's not that I want to be by myself. I'm not around that group, that community that clicks to take photography. That's something I might want to end up looking into, hanging out with other photographers and going out and because they would see everything how I would see.
Well, I don't even know if particularly they would see everything exactly how you would see it, because I've done that. I've done some shoots where I've gone out and paired up with other photographers. And I think it's great. I think photography can be a very individualistic thing. It's but it's also something that can be shared. And when you do share it, when you get together and you do things, the first time I ever operated my first camera that I got, my first DSLR. The first time I ever shot it in the dark, I was with Tyler Horton.
Yeah,
and
he's someone I want to have on here too.
Yeah. He'll be a great conversation. He gabs. Tyler definitely gabs.
I know him from my childhood going camping. Him doing Yoda impressions at my school.
Yeah,
that stuff was hilarious.
And Tyler called me one night and he was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna go to Assateague and fire off some night shots. You want to go?" And I was like, "Oh, I haven't shot in the dark." And I didn't even realize that shooting in the dark was a thing that I wanted to do up until that point where he invited me to go. It was just like the nighttime was just that time of the day where you stopped shooting because you ran out of light. And, he was like, "Nah, there's settings, adjust your ISO and turn it up and open your aperture." And, let's go do it, and I'll show you some things. And and we went and we did it. And his camera that he was shooting with at the time was superior camera. He had already been into photography for some time at that point, whereas I was just getting into it. And I think the camera was like freezing up. It was giving me some kind of fit. It wasn't really working well. But even when it was working well, like, his images were significantly better than mine. But I was producing images from the dark with this camera, this thing that only months ago I had bought at a pawn shop used. And I felt like, so herein lies the benefit of partnering with like-minded people that are doing the same thing, is you learn. You might go through 500 YouTube videos and never come across one that says learn how to shoot night photography, because you're in whatever feed you're in. But a buddy calling you and says, let's go do night photography, that's the meat and potatoes. That's why you leave yourself open to have some community, experience some community, be your own thing, develop your own style, hone your own craft, but at the same time, share it. And in sharing it, share your information. One of the better local photographers to come out of this area he doesn't live here anymore. He lives in Tampa, Florida, but it's Tony Townsend. Tony is just, the guy is just, you can't really say more about his work. He's world-class photographer. He's just awesome, and he's such a wealth of knowledge. And Tony, logistically, with as smart as he is and as much as he knows, he could be one of these assholes that just stays self-absorbed and self-indulgent and hoards his information and feels entitled to, I had to figure it out for myself or whatever. It's mine. I don't have to share it with you. But that's not his bag. That's not his thing. He's too cool for that. So whenever you have a question and you call Tony, 98 times out of 100 is going to have the answer right now, today, and he's going to share it with you. Those other 2% of the time, he's going to find it online or from another photographer or whatever resources he's had, and then he's going to call you back.
Yeah.
So these are the type of people that I'm like influenced by, like at the local level. People that are willing to share information, people that celebrate my imagery when they like it. I celebrate their imagery, and there's a community to it. And I like that. I like community, just like I like the community in music and art and the other facets of our culture.
It's definitely good to be around positive people that think a lot like you do and sometimes can think differently than you. There was one guy I used to hang out with, and he had the worst type of personality trait where he thought getting the best equipment was what made it. And I remember I was using my phone to take these photos, and I sent you a couple of photos of when I stacked rocks and when I would get the sunset.
I like those.
I have so many of those, but I was using a phone. I was using a regular, like an Android phone back before the iPhones we have now. And I was just seeing it in a different way. He would see that, and I got him interested in doing, I called it Rock Stack Sunday. I would do it every single Sunday, mostly because I was inspired by the band Revolution with their one album, Count Me In, where they had the rocks stacked on the front cover.
Yeah, I know the record.
So I was like, I'm going to start doing that. And then I started getting it, like I'd sit there for like 30 minutes before the sun would go down, and I would time it so they would hit right on top of the rocks. I have a couple of them where I got the picture right on top of the rocks. And like, I remember I still have the rocks in my car today, man. They're behind my driver's seat. There's just a stack of rocks. Every time someone gets in the back seat, they're like, why there's a stack of rocks back here? I'm like, I used to take rock stacks. Like, what? And they start going on my Instagram and looking at it.
Yeah.
I got him, like I showed him the pictures I was taking with these rock stacks. Next thing I know, I see on Sunday, like before, he knows at what time I post them at like 10. At 9 o'clock, he puts up his. He did one.
Right.
But he bought an $800 camera, a professional one, and was like, mine's way better. No, dude. I'm sorry to tell you, it's not even like if it was better than my photo, I would let you know. But it's not the equipment that makes the photo, man.
Yeah, no,
Sometimes
no.
it can add a hell of a lot more detail, but also if I catch it at a different angle than you, even with a crappy piece of like Polaroid something, it can still be good. Like it could still be better than yours. And people are like, I like your photo better than his. And he would go, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. And he would go off and be like, look, every hobby that you had, he would buy the more expensive thing as soon as he tried it with you. Like you could introduce it to him. He would go out and buy the most expensive thing for it and then think he was the best.
Right.
That doesn't make you the best. I guarantee you, if you put me on a $1 million skateboard and then you put Shaun White on a crappy cardboard, plastic, whatever you want to call it, $1 piece of crap, he's going to be still a hell of a lot better than me. And that's just because it's not talent. Person's traits are just different from your own, and the way I can capture an image with a piece of crap phone.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is a cell phone screen is kind of like the level playing field.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, regardless of the quality of your camera, whether it's the camera in the phone or if it's
attachments you added to it,
attachments or like a Canon like T1i, which is like the base entry level Rebel, or like a 1DX, which is the flagship $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 Canon DSLR, or the Sonys, or the Nikons, or the Olympus, whatever else is out there. The cell phone screen levels the playing field because all of those cameras are shooting with a resolution of somewhere between, like, depending on the age of them, somewhere between like 10, 12, and 15 to 30 and 50 megapixel. And, megapixel isn't the only thing that matters when it comes to image quality. A lot of people get wrapped up in more megapixel, more megapixel, more megapixel. And when it comes to enlarging things, yeah, the megapixel is going to matter when you're doing enlargement prints and everything. But anything over 30, you can blow up a 30 megapixel print and turn it into a billboard. So anything above and beyond that, you don't really need unless you're into real specialty things. And regardless of whether it's a 50 megapixel, a 30 megapixel, a 12 megapixel, whatever it is, they're all going to have pretty much the same resolution when you compress it down to the size of an image that fits on a cell phone screen. So whether you're taking a picture with the Canon 1DX or the Nikon D6 or a Canon 80D or your iPhone or whatever it is, if you take the picture correctly, if you expose correctly, which cell phone cameras have settings in them now where, once upon a time, when it used to be when cell phones, it was just regular, like you press the button and the exposure you got was the exposure you got.
Yeah.
Now there's apps where you can adjust your exposure and your sharpness and, your focus, and you can do all these things now. It makes it so that the playing field is leveled. Now, the one thing that I think is lacking from cell phone photography by default, because the lens on it has to be so small and the sensor on it has to be so small to fit into such a package with everything else that's going on in here, that you just, with the glass, you can't really get the depth of field that you can get by using an actual optical lens.
Yes.
That has multiple elements, so where you can get something real sharp and focus right in front of you and then blur out the background, make the background all buttery, smooth and creamy. You can do these things with a DSLR, and you can't do it with the cell phone. Now, there's probably apps out there. I don't know. I'm not very app knowledgeable. There's probably apps out there where you can like make your own. They call that effect where like things are blurred out around the focal point, the focus point of an image. It's called bokeh. And there's probably like bokeh.com where you can buy your own bokeh to put on cell phone apps to make it look like it was shot with a DSLR. So it's amazing. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of photographers get wrapped up in the whole, I shoot a DSLR, I'm a real photographer. But there's one of the guys that's been inspiring me to kind of chase down photography professionally more so than anybody else. Is this guy's is real popular YouTube vlog dude. His name's Peter McKinnon. Mm-hmm. And one of his vlogs is, I shot a wedding on my phone. And it's like, it's like a 15, 20-minute vlog where he goes through, he basically packages an entire story of how, I've got a Canon 1DX, I've got a Canon 5D Mark IV, and he goes through his whole equipment rig of all the cameras and all the lenses he's got, and then he gets to the end of it and he's like, and I'm gonna go shoot this wedding on my cell phone. And you're like, what? And then it shows he does B-roll, where he takes you through and shows you him shooting the entire way. And then he goes through at the end sequence and he runs through the images. And they're beautiful. You know what I mean? They're beautiful images. And it's like, he obviously had to do a little post-production. He had to run them through Lightroom or Photoshop to get them crispy, the way he wanted them to be and everything. But, the point of the matter is that if anybody's going to legitimately have grounds to say, I'm a badass, real thing photographer, Peter McKinnon can say that. Peter McKinnon can also say, but I can shoot a whole wedding with my cell phone.
Yeah.
So does that make me less of a photographer because I shot an event with my cell phone?
It's all how you see an image.
Right, exactly. So whatever tool you have at your disposal, like I'm fortunate right now when I'm playing guitar on a nice tailored guitar. I didn't start out on a nice tailored guitar. I started out on a beater Ibanez that had chunks missing from it. Squeaked and hissed when I plugged it in. At that point, when I was grinding it out and I was still doing those early shows, I was still in the game. I was still qualified. I was still defined as a musician because I was doing the thing. My gear sucked. My gear was beaten to shit. I didn't look like the part with regard to my gear, but what I was doing with it was I was holding my own. You know what I mean? Even though I didn't have the tailor at that time, what I was doing with my beater Ibanez, I was putting on just as good a show as anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between, it would be nice to have an $8,000 like Stratocaster or something like that, like some badass something, where you see like, holy shit. But it's also not bad. Some people that start out with just a $200 electric guitar that they got probably hand-me-down from their parents, that was theirs when they were your age, and it's held together by basically duct tape and glue.
Right.
I mean, if they can play music that sounds good and it's good to them, there's no difference. I mean, the talented people, a lot of these artists that came up and became who they are today, having so much, and you see them give away guitars, like the guy from Metallica that gave a guitar away to like a super fan, and the guy was like, what, and gave him a hug and everything. He didn't probably have that much money to have an instrument in the first place. A lot of these bands were scraping by, but they were putting it all into their hobby and their interest, and that's how they crafted it. And that's with any passion. It just, as if anybody can take a step into pursuing whatever you want to do, whether it's photography, whether it's comedy, whether it's music, whether it's whatever. If you want to be a professional arm wrestler like someone I've interviewed, like as long as you're putting the time and effort into doing that, you're not going to fail.
Right. And I think it's okay to obsess.
It's not. There's definitely a good and bad thing to it. I think being overly obsessed about it, where like you don't want to. If you're aggressive towards anybody is not very good.
Oh well, of course, yeah.
When you're obsessed about something and you care so much for it that you're willing to put in any time in the world, every little bit of effort you have, 120% all into it. Then that's beautiful. And sometimes it takes people their whole life to even try and find that. And I didn't realize, I'm glad I found a passion with podcasting. And it was weird, I've been listening to podcasts for years now, and the fact I would have these 3-hour ones that would go on in my head, and I'd be working out, and I'm sitting there listening to just Joe Rogan talk, and I'm like, it finally clicked one day. I was like, wait a minute. And it also really started when I hit speech class.
Right.
And when that clicked for me, I used to be so shy I didn't want to talk in front of anybody because I was told I was annoying all the time because of how much I talked. And
I never found you to be annoying, but you were noticeably quiet coming up.
Because
reserved sort of.
When I got older, it was like I need to stop talking around people because I need to just let them be, let everyone do their own thing, which I still do now.
Right.
But tend to be more, I was very introvert, let's say. I just felt like opening my mouth would cause somebody to be able to tell me to shut up or not like me. So I always kept it shut. And then finally I was listening to podcasts and working out all the time. I was just started talking to people that I would see at the gym. They're like, older people would come up to me and be like, look, you're here every single day. You haven't missed a day. What's your name? And I'm like, my name's Robbie. It's nice to meet you, man. They're like, I did not expect you to be like that. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, usually kids your age are an asshole. And I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm just, I don't want to bother anybody when I'm in here. You talk to me whenever. So whenever I come in, everyone's like, what's up, Robbie? I'm like, what's up, man? How you doing? And, I know them, like the fire department people that are there.
And that's how you carry yourself. That's how you interact with people. I mean, I don't. You're of the age now where I don't see you as a kid anymore. I mean, I can remember a time when you were the kid Robbie. You're the young man Robbie now. And I know what you mean when you say, when you talk about other people that are your age, that you're comfortable, like by default, addressing them as kid because maybe they still act like it.
Yeah.
Maybe they still carry. Maybe they still have kid-like interests, kid-like behaviors, kid-like interactions, and stuff like that. And I don't think when you become a certain age, I don't think you're necessarily entitled to shake off kid as a title. You know what I mean? Like just because you become 18, a kid anymore. Maybe that's what the government says on paper for legality purposes, but
my parents always liked to rub in my face until I turned 21. So that's in 2 weeks. So
like, they're like, I know human beings in their early 20s, 23, 24, whatever, that are, that still, I look at them and I'm like, you're such a 12-year-old. Like, what are you doing in this body?
Yeah.
And then there are people that I know that are even younger than that, and just 20 or 21, or that behave and think and have mentalities of like that exceed some 30 and 35-year-olds I know.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like kind of your own thing.
That's
like,
your experience.
Your experience,
your
experience, your influence, your soul, your will, your intent.
My grandfather's 68 years old and he hides candy from his wife. I'm like,
I get it.
You're a grown-ass man and you're hiding Reese's cups in pots and pans.
Yeah, my dad was the same way. So I see this going on.
He's like, she won't let me have any. I'm like, but you talk all this trash how you're a man, you're going to have candy, and then as soon as she comes home, you're immediately turned into this dog with his tail in between his legs.
It's funny. That's funny.
Because she's a little bit like hunched over, so she doesn't. We have pots and pans that hang up at their house where she doesn't even reach them; they're just decoration. He tapes Reese's cups into the pots
to the inside, around the back
yes.
side.
So I go and I'm going to cook, and I go to fill it up with water. There's a Reese's cup sitting in the thing, and he'll throw candy at me. He's got a giant freezer in his shed where only he has the key to, and she knows there's candy back there.
She's having a great time. He's like 70 years old, right?
He goes
and he's still behaving
like a child.
And he's probably in his head. He's probably having a ball with himself.
Yes,
he's loving it.
He's loving
it.
But it's funny. She's the type of person. Let's go out to eat. Let's go out and do all this stuff. He's
right.
like, I just want to sit here and watch, old $1 movies you can get by like 50 for $1 at a dollar store. And you come back and he's got candy trash, like candy bar wrappers all over his chest. He's falling asleep in his chair. They're all over the floor. She comes in like, oh my God. And he's got a little drawer up by his nightstand. You open it up, there's nothing in it but 2 TV remotes. You're like, what? And I remember one day he was gone. I was like, he's got something hidden under here. I pull the whole drawer out and flip the drawer over. Under the drawer,
under the floor of the drawer,
taped candy bars. Full-length movie candy bars taped. Just bam, 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 bam. It looked like when you see the ballista vests, like the guys in the army that have the bullets wrapped around it. It looked like taped on the drawer. I'm going to movies and he lifts up his glove box. I'm like, I got $5 on me. I'm going to go get some snow caps. He gave me the best advice in the world. Don't waste your money on snow caps. I said, dude, it's chocolate, man. I'm a kid. I'm like, I'm gonna want that.
Right.
He goes, let me show you something. Opens up his glove box, Juji fruits.
Right.
He goes, take these. I go, this is old man candy. He goes, trust me. He goes, it's like Pops, but it's not. Those little things you put in your mouth, like little gobstop things, and you sit there and you chew. I was eating that. I only ate a quarter of the box, but I would tear up snow caps in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Those Swedish fish and those juji fruits
last.
Go home after 4 hours after the movie's over.
Yeah, you can brush your teeth like 4
They're
times,
still
and there's
in
still
there.
stuff stuck
I was
in there.
eating
You're
those
like,
things
damn
for
it.
3 days. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't get this stuff out. But
Yeah.
he's like, how much of those juji fruits you eat? And I'm like, only half the box. I'm like, I'm still going through. I have them saved.
And
He's
you
like,
taste it for the whole movie.
He goes, I have them too. And that's what he gave me, this best advice. So whenever I go to the movies, if I'm going to get a box of candy, it's juji fruits or Swedish fish. Because that man taught me a life lesson.
Yeah.
And going to the dollar store right down the road and picking up candy and walking into the movie theater. Because, I mean, it's ridiculous to pay $8 for snacks. But he goes to Walmart and buys family-sized bags of candy, and he's got a freezer in his shed. Throws them right in there. She'll go, can you go out and go mow the lawn or something? He goes, yeah, I'm going to go work on the lawnmower. It broke down. All right, that lawnmower is so old.
He's in there like stuffing his face full of Three Musketeers.
He has the lawnmower pulled up. It's flipped over, so he's like fixing the blades. And I'll walk over. He'll be fixing his toolbox real quick. I'm like, what are you doing? I walk over. He lifts up the toolbox. Or I thought you were a grandmom. He lifts up the toolbox. Nothing but candy bars, like little Kit Kats and all those things shoved in a drawer. I'm like, why are you hiding? And he goes, I'm not allowed to have any. I'm like, but you're a grown-ass man. He goes, you don't understand once you get married. And sometimes he'll throw it out like, I'm a grown-ass man, I do what I want. And then gets in the house and he's like a dog with his tail in between his legs. But she eats Reese's Cups too. She's all into that too. But she's like, oh no, you can't have any. And then she'll take his candy away, and then he'll walk away and be like, whatever. And then he'll just reach down to his drawer and pull out another one. The same thing she just took from him.
I celebrate him. I think he's doing it.
It's a man with a spirit.
Yeah, he's got a spirit. He's got a spirit.
Whether it's enjoying candy bars, but just enjoying life, man.
Yeah. I love this expression, and I hate this expression at the same time. But people say I have somewhat of a Peter Pan complex.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
fairy tale perspective on reality?
Well, just not necessarily fairy tale, but like Forever Young. I'm still very you-ish in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? I'm still I've done what I've done. I've had the experiences that I've had, and the calendar has certainly moved the way it has. The wisdom that I have now from the additional time that I've had, but there's still a part of me that is still 20 years old.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I still want to be connected to that 20-year-old version of me when I'm 80, you know what I mean?
Don't lose your inner kid.
Yeah, and I think that happens to so many people, whether it's for reasons of and I know some people, they deal with things,
they're forced to grow up.
Losses, and I've been forced to grow up too.
But some people, when they get put in a position if they have a family member that dies and they have to become the supportive role. Same thing happened with my grandfather when he was in the army and his dad died, and then he had to go home and support his whole family, his whole siblings and everything. When he had to go do that, he was forced to cut out all the childhood games of going out and drinking and going out into bars and stuff and do that, and he had to force to be the man that brought home everything and was supportive. Now there is that, but he still found his inner kid as he got older and is now enjoying life. He's in
and that's
Hawaii
what some people
right
do.
Now,
that's what some people do, and that when they have a portion of their youth subtracted from their timeline because they had to take on a responsibility or an obligation like that. It's not okay. Well, let me tap back into that. It's I miss that. Whatever. I'm 56 now. Whatever. But I never got a chance to be 20. I'll just be 20 now that I'm 56.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's okay. Some people might look at somebody that behaves that way and think, oh, they've lost their mind. They're having a crisis. And I look at something that goes on like that, and I'm like, you. Get it?
Yeah. Why should someone think that you have to drink a coffee with your pinky up? Why would someone think that you have to be elegant like that just because you're a certain age? Hell no. If you enjoy my grandpa will do a coloring book with my half sister, 7 years old. We'll do a coloring book, and he'll be more into it than she is. She'll be like, I don't really want to do this. She's like, but if you draw that's how I'm.
We can make this purple.
Yeah. Look at all these different colors. Grandma brought home the 32 pack of crayons.
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff like that. Like that's something I definitely want to aspire to be, because why shouldn't you enjoy life? Why shouldn't you have fun? And the people that look at the world all pissed off, I understand you might have had a hard time, but stop reflecting on that. Stop bringing your emotional past into life.
Right.
Find a hobby, find a passion. Half of the comedians that I listen to and I enjoy, and I have that sense of stupid humor that my mom gets so pissed off about when she's like, "Why are you cracking a fart joke right now?" I'm like, "Cause that's what I like. It's funny."
Because I can.
There's comedians that I listen to a podcast that him and his wife talk about people shitting sometimes. Sometimes they talk about the shits they take. That's just funny to me, and it's funny to see somebody think of that. Like somebody to have that connection with someone that they love. And it's something I definitely want to have if I ever, get married one day. I want to have a type of relationship where I don't have to hide or put on this fake persona. That's what I feel like ends a lot of stuff. And it's a thing a lot of people do. They mask their true selves in public of being afraid of what someone is going to think of them. And that's a lot of how I thought the past couple of years, just being called annoying and everything, and thinking that if I talked it was a crime. And now that I'm able to speak out and, I not care what anybody says, really just doing it for me. If I want to be happy, I'm going to be happy. And just having that whole change on reality, it changed my whole view on the world.
Yeah, you owe it to yourself to be yourself, for sure. But you also owe it to the people you interact with.
Yeah.
Because when you behave a certain way that's outside of yourself, like say you put on a certain front
or persona,
or persona to make somebody feel a certain way about you or think of you in a certain light, but it's really not who you are. Not only are you not being true to yourself, but eventually your true self is going to come out. So this fake version of yourself that you're giving to somebody is what this new person in your life comes to accept as who and what you are, and that's what they're attracted to or disattracted to. So they invest themselves in you because they're attracted to you, but they're attracted to a front. They're attracted to an altered version of yourself that you altered because you're uncomfortable with being yourself or whatever. But then eventually you fall into, I'm back to being myself now,
and they don't like you.
And that person is like, well, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Like
I'm
all of a sudden,
this is the true
yeah,
me.
you're like, what the fuck is going on with you that's got you acting and behaving the way that you are? Like, I don't even fucking recognize you. And, then they eventually divulge, well, this is me. And, you're kind of like, I just don't fucking know if I would have, spent all the time with you, if I'd have known that you were this.
You were putting on a front.
Right. So I think it's, as you go through life, you learn, you have a few of these interactions, hopefully as few as possible, but you see how not only do you disserve yourself when you're not yourself, but you can also disserve good people that are around you that are willing to invest themselves in you by wasting their time too. You never go wrong with being yourself. Sometimes being yourself puts you in a position where somebody has an opportunity to say, I don't like your character, I don't like your energy,
that might be something your
enthusiasm. You can work on things. You could say, well, so this is a skill I need to develop. This is a personality trait that I need to nurture to change things. People do adapt. People say, by default, people don't really change a great deal by nature, but at the same time, there are facets of your personality that you can develop and work on and nurture over time. That doesn't make you your end result. I think I don't think anybody that arrives at the end of life in the same frame of mind, having the same personality that they started out with, I think they've somehow missed the point of an opportunity to evolve. And I think everybody should take an opportunity to evolve. And you can't evolve if you don't take cues from the world and the people around you. But at the same
if you're
time,
closed off, that you're not getting any feedback from anything either.
Right.
A lot of people just live their whole life in a shell,
Yeah.
And that's what I thought I wanted to do for the longest time, just being absorbed
I'm glad you broke out.
being absorbed by video games. And then it is eventually when I started like going to college and getting over that, because I thought I had a really bad like social anxiety. I would be scared to go to school. I remember faking illnesses just because of being bullied really bad. And then
I had like anxiety. You didn't want to be there.
It was like it was the constant fear of being like, I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck here. I don't like being here because I get made fun of. Mostly teachers were making fun of me. I had very few teachers care about me. It was just a fact that like my mind was rolling so fast. Like even talking to you in this podcast where we've been back and forth chattering like crazy, man. We've always been talking for 2 hours now, and it's flown by. I swear, dude. We're at an hour and 43 minutes right now.
It flew by in a blink.
See, like I was telling you, man, don't worry about trying to think of an hour of stuff. Our conversation's gonna flow, man.
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, it's the fact that like once you get into this connective thing, it becomes so much like something so beautiful too. Like you understand that this only felt like maybe at the tops of an hour. It's almost been 2 hours, man.
Right? Yeah. It feels like half the time it's been.
And it's like when I edit this, there's probably going to be no pauses in this.
Right.
That's just because of the fact that we were flowing so quick back and forth with conversation. But when you're told that you're annoying and all this stuff when you're growing up and you become introvert, and for the longest time I was introverted, I put myself into a spot where I wasn't getting texts anymore, I wasn't getting calls anymore, nobody wanted to hang out anymore, because every time they would text me or call me, I would deny them that like pleasure or happiness that they wanted from me, that they were going to get from me, from just seeing me. I stopped visiting my friends. I didn't want to drive anywhere. I mean, even sometimes now, just with work being how it is in school, I don't really feel like on my day off doing anything.
Well, that's just because you're overwhelmed and busy.
Yeah, and you're tired.
You're not hiding.
Yeah,
now. Right.
But at the same time, I force myself to get up in the morning. I mean, not like, like I have to get out of bed because I have to do this. No, it's 4 a.m, it's 5 a.m. I'm going to go downstairs,
to go.
Make a coffee, go to the grocery store, get some groceries when the store opens up, go get shit done. I went and washed my car today.
Yeah.
I got cleaned out the whole inside. Febrezed it. Like, I mean, I got all the air fresheners in there so that my car smells amazing when I hop in. And I got all this stuff, got gas, did everything, cleaned out my fridges in my garage, cleaned up my room. I did a bunch of shit. And it was like, this was all before I was going to head here just a podcast with you. I was like, I got a list of shit to do. I'm not going to be lazy today. And back a year from now, I wouldn't have even dared. I had this strict habit. I'm going to go to work, come home, do school, go to the gym, go to sleep. Same routine over again.
Right.
After months and months and months of doing that, my parents would constantly ask me, "Are you okay? Are you happy? Are you all right? Like, is there something wrong? Why aren't you going out and having fun with your friends?"
I know people that are in the same cycle right
and
now.
It's a comfortability factor, and I have friends that are in it now, and I know I'm like, dude, you gotta say fuck it and you gotta do it. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, when I tell you we're going to shoot a podcast, I'm coming over. You don't have a chance to say yes or no. We're going to do this. Because I know once I'm there, like once you're out and doing it, you enjoy it. But just the build up of going to do it seems like too much. And that's a lot of what people deal with when it comes to depression.
Yeah.
And like that was a big thing for me too. I was getting depressed for a while because after just like not having anybody text you anymore, not wanting to text anybody, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to call anybody, just being kind of blocked off from the world, you get set into such a comfortability factor where you just roll around yourself and it's hard to interact with the world. I definitely think everyone needs to break out of that and understand if you're comfortable. You can do that sometimes. I'm not objecting to that. But don't be closed off from people forever. Don't be closed off from your passions or goals or something that you might want to do. I always wanted...
Or your relationships.
Yeah.
You know?
I always wanted to be in my, like, from when I was a little kid, I wanted to be famous. That's every little kid's little, like, I want to be famous, be an astronaut, I want to be president, that type of thing. But what I thought I could get it from was music, just because of my parents.
Right.
I don't have that musical talent like they do. I don't have that, not that I can't do it, it's just I don't have the wantingness to do that. I want someone to scream my name, but I would rather them scream it when they see me in a movie or when they see me in a comedy performance. Something that I figured out I can use my vocalization of words to get on stage and do something. I always wanted to be an actor, but I was too afraid to get in front of the camera because I didn't like how I looked. I was made fun of for being overweight. I was being a bunch of stuff, and that's a lot where my passion came from for the gym, always constantly wanting to change my appearance. But I mean, it's a factor
But look, now you're in great shape.
Yeah, well, I work out every day.
Yeah,
like 3 hours,
you know what I mean? So it's, I mean, that's what I was talking about.
Obsessiveness.
You're still the same person you were when you were unfortunately being made fun of for being overweight. Because I think that's a horrible thing for anybody to have to listen to. It's bullshit. But at the end of it, you know, you're still the same person now that you were then. And but you've evolved physically, and that's like, you know, physically, emotionally, spiritually. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about the people don't change who they are, but they change facets of themselves.
Yeah,
and that's what I was saying. You know, you've evolved intellectually. You know, you've evolved emotionally. You don't have the hindrance, the fear, the anxiety about speaking anymore. You know, there's so many things about you that are in only a year's time.
And the way I think of now, if I thought back how I did in high school, I've had people that made fun of me contact me now because they see an Instagram picture of when I flash my abs on Instagram, but I crack jokes on it. I'm at like 3% body fat, so I'm pretty.
You're all ripped up.
I'm pretty shredded. Yeah. So when I post it up, everyone's like, "You should eat like a pizza or something, man. How do you get that 6-pack?" I'm like, 80% lighting, 20% effort. That's all it is, literally. It's literally that right after you're worked out so hard and you get the right picture in the mirror, and then after you drink something or have some fluids in you, that abs go away.
Right.
And it's like, I always joke around about it because I see all the bodybuilders that post up ab pictures. They joke about it too. Some of them level with you. You're not going to have that 24/7. And I've had the people that made fun of me. And I mean, back when I was in high school, I would have been like, you know, fuck you. I don't want to help you out. How dare you ask me? You made fun of me growing up.
Right.
No, that mindset now, they're crying to me, hey man, how do I get a 6-pack? I'm really out of shape. I drink too much. I need to change my body.
Right.
And I'm like, do it. You got to do it for yourself, man.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give you the nutritional advice. I helped one of my friends who was at 235. He's now down to 185.
Nice.
He lost like 60 pounds in 5 months.
Nice.
He looks completely different, and he's a hell of a lot
Now, is that
happier.
healthy? That much weight? And that,
yes.
And that's
he's an Italian guy,
right.
So he was eating nothing but pasta and breads. Didn't go to the gym at all. Didn't do any of that. Was just depressed. And now he's lost weight. He's like wearing slimmer clothing, constantly taking selfies. I've never seen this side of him before, of taking pictures of himself and putting it up in the mirror. Constantly putting transformation photos. You know, he did it the healthy way. He literally asked me, what do I do? I said, go to the gym. You don't have to go every day like me. I'm compulsive when it comes to that. But change your eating habits. What do you mean change my eating habits? You're Italian, right? Okay. Lay off the pasta.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
not
a big
so many
thing.
meatballs.
Yeah,
Come on.
Yeah. A little lower on the sauce. No, but he did that. He cut out a lot of the carbs and pastas he was doing, and he dropped weight fast. And he was like, yeah, and he worked out on a steady routine. You know, he messaged me. He's like, you going to the gym? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to go every single night. I will always be there. I have not missed a day in almost 5 years now. I said, don't plan on missing one anytime soon.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to keep this up forever, but I'm going to keep going until I
can't.
Yeah.
Do it till I can't. Yeah.
And he was like, all right, man, just having me there would push him to go and do it. And it's good to see.
And that's what's great about being influential.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When people think of the word influential, they typically tend to have like a grandiose stigma that goes on.
I think of Johnny Depp.
Yeah, exactly. Like Johnny Depp, you know, political figures, actors, people that are high key like that, you know, they're influential on a mass scale. But that doesn't mean that just because they have that mass scale influence, that basic scale influence that you and I are in a position to be able to conduct isn't a tangible, real thing. You know what I mean? Because it is.
You're
influencing somebody to do something that's going to better themselves. This guy's going to get in the gym. He's losing weight. He's transforming his body because he says, hey, not this guy that's way up here on the Johnny Depp rung of the ladder, but this guy that's here, lateral with me on the same rung of the ladder, did this thing. So I'm going to follow his lead. And there's something gratifying about being in a position to be able to do that, you know. And when you can and you see the result about it, you know, you realize at that point I had a choice that I could have made. I could have turned my back on this guy for when he called me an asshole in high school. I could have when this guy asked me for help, I could have responded by saying, well, what have you ever done for me? I could have been that guy. I could have said these things. I could have had that outlook and that perspective. But I made a choice to say, all right, look, let me help you out. Let me show you the way. And then you see the transformation in them over time. And that's the benefit of your choice. A point that people miss a lot of times in their life is having those opportunities to make those choices, because you can affect somebody for the positive without really putting yourself out.
Yeah.
You're not inconveniencing
And it
yourself.
can also be like a trickle-down effect, too, where you help this person out, and then they change their in perspective, and then they help the next person.
And that's when you get into karma and that whole thing,
and down,
you know?
And down. And it's something I've experienced when I go to a drive-in or something, and the guy's like, oh, some dude paid it forward, you know, you don't have to pay, your meal's free. I'm like, there's a guy, I'm going to pay for the person behind me. And next thing you know, even though that might continue down, it might not. It might stop there. But, you know, those small little random acts of kindness are great. And it's like finding $5 in your jeans when you're washing your old pair of pants or something. Like, it's a good feeling, man. And I definitely think people should be more open and, like, to interpretation of the world, and also be more open to people in general.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's going to be assholes out there, obviously, but there's also going to be some great people with some great experiences. Like, just sitting down here talking to you has been amazing, man.
Yeah, this has been great. This has been great.
It's definitely something. It's gonna make a great podcast and a great episode. I need to physically connect with them. I need to know that I'm gonna go in there, and I connect with everybody basically. But I want to go in there knowing that, like, it's not going to be a thing where 5 minutes in the guy's like, oh, you know, whatever, and just like goes away. It's like, no, I want to be able to click. I want you to be interested.
If I'm going to bring anybody to the table that's gonna want to participate, you know, in a podcast or a vlog or whatever, I'm going to vet everybody very carefully to make sure that anybody that I bring in to get involved is going to be enthusiastic about it and want to participate and go the distance from the starting line to the finish line. You know what I mean?
That's why it's so hard to do it with people my age, because when I message them, they're like, I guess. If you hit me with an I guess or maybe, cancel it. No, we're not doing it. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, if you're not going to take it serious.
Yeah, when you asked me, I was like, what time?
Yeah.
Where do we have
when I got that response, I was like, literally, I stood up, was like, shit, yeah, he's about it. And like, you were like on it. I was like, yes. Because when a lot of people that don't know what a podcast is, like, what's a podcast? I'm like, all right, I'll let you know what it is. It's a pretty cool interview, basically a conversation.
Right.
And then the people that do know what a podcast is, and my friends that I bring it up to, people that I would like to, like, that I know pretty well and would like to, like, click with, they're all like my age, and they're like, I don't know, man, maybe. I'm like, I'll ask you 3 times. Once I've asked you 3 times, I'm not asking you anymore.
Right.
You'll eventually have to ask me to be on my podcast.
Right.
Because even if this thing doesn't blow up, I don't want to sit there and feel like I'm bugging you to force you to, you know, benefit both of us.
Right.
For you to be, you know, exposure for me to, like,
talk about your thing.
To talk about you practically.
Right.
I mean, we can talk about obviously whatever you want on the podcast. You can talk about you can talk about life, we can talk about whatever. We can talk about me if you want. But at the same time, I also want people to know your story and your experiences while I share mine as well. And maybe we can just get on different topics that might interest somebody listening. And that's just the beauty of this whole thing, and really what I would like to end the podcast on. Be open to everything. Don't be closed off from just certain things. There's obviously some things that you might not be open to, but, you know, don't be an asshole, I guess, is just the main thing here.
Yeah, don't suck. You know, I mean, the world the world's in a weird place right now. You know what I mean? We're at a weird time in history. It's a great time in history, but there's so much, as much freedom as there is, as much interaction as there is. The world's obviously gotten a lot smaller with the internet and our communication. But at the same time, our politics has gotten more involved and complicated. And as many liberties as we have to be able to take with each other, I'm so fortunate. Living in this town, it's a great place to become worldly without having to be a world traveler, because we have such an influx of travelers that come in and out of town. And when these people come, you get to learn things about other cultures that, because you're interacting with a person, because you've met a person, and you learn from those things while they're here learning about us. What you see is that at the end of it all, in spite of differences, we all have the same basic wants. We all have the same basic needs.
We're all living here together.
We're all living here together. And we're all kind of, to one degree or another, suffering from mistakes that were made on our behalf, from our pasts, from people that came before us, and we're all trying to figure out another way. You know what I mean? And I think I think the idea that the utopia can be a thing, I think that's so far off of what's possible or what's going to be possible in our lifetime. I think it's a little bit unrealistic. But maybe if we're not shooting for the utopia, and we just, I think I hate to use the word settle, but if we settle for just, let's all just collectively agree not to be assholes to each other.
Yeah. I
think if we can just collectively, globally arrive at that point and use that as a nice resting place, we'll be all right. You know what I mean?
How long is it? How much time are you really losing holding the door open for someone that can't open it themselves?
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not.
So, I mean, it's great to have you on the podcast, Scott.
Thanks again for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I'm still marveling at how quickly the time went by.
We were literally 2 hours and 2 minutes into the podcast.
2:02. Wow.
So,
2 hours in a blink.
Yeah, exactly, man. It was a fun talk, and hopefully everyone out there listening enjoys it as much as we did.